Hi there, YouTube. Honors Brad Goodspeed here. Now, I had promised a number of people had asked how I could possibly get as much haunt as I've shown you guys in these videos into a one-car garage as I did. There's a bit of a trick to it, and I promised I would show you guys how I accomplished this. We don't have a huge haunted house, but it's a decent size. People always feel like they're in there for a long time. And, you all know that haunted houses seem longer than they are, especially when you've got lots of turns and things in them. So, in order to maximize the space that I have available to me, the first thing we do is we have a 10 by 20 tent that sits in front of our one-car garage. Half the haunt's in there and half the haunt is inside the garage. What we do in order to maximize the use within that space is divide it up using wall panels. And then the whole trick to making this work is a little innovation here created using shipping pallets. In order to have, we had previously had haunts where the tent was in front of the garage and then you walked all the way to the back of the haunt and then you had to come all the way back out through the way you would come because we had no exit. The kind of innovation that we created here using shipping pallets was to create a space or hallway between the tent and the garage, which is not there for its own purposes. It's there to create the gap between the tent and the garage, which gives me an exit. So that's an important part of what we've done. So last year, this spacer section was 1 pallet deep. This year, it was 2 pallets deep. So we used 8 skids as opposed to the 4 we used last year to create this hallway. I'll start off with kind of a guided tour of the haunt using this 3D model. This model is not to scale. There's all kinds of problems with this model. This is very rough. I had sort of abandoned this model a long time ago before I made lots of changes in the haunt. So you'll see here, this is the first room of the haunt, and you've seen this in the video. This is where we had our jumping dog cages and our screaming actress. And basically this was just kind of your intro to the haunt. The idea here was just to set the mood and then start moving into the haunt. Then when you got into this next room, this is actually a larger room than it felt like because I built this special right-angled table here to put Timmy on top of. And that turned this room from a solid square room into more of a maze-y kind of thing. So people would walk around this corner, and then there were props built up upon this table so you couldn't see behind there, and then hiding behind this spot was an actor, and there would be all kinds of weapons hung on that wall, and they could jump out and scare them, and we got good scares there. They controlled a light to be able to turn on a light on themselves for the scare, and they also controlled one of those noise-making machines that was in the next room that also got some good scares. So then as you proceeded through to this next room, that's where our bitchin' o'clock prop was, and you had sort of room number 3. I guess hallways have to be counted as rooms. So the first room was with the dog cages, second here was Timmy's room, and third was this kind of sort of series of hallways here. And we had our antique radio, which is where we actually put the speaker to have the music playing from, and we had some props on top of that. And then as you went around this corner, you would encounter this space here, which looked like another hallway. But what on the right-hand side was a window, and we had a pneumatic prop jump up from there. And it was just a head on a stick. I was never hoping to get scares from that. The whole point of that was to hide or distract you from the actor that was about to jump up out from behind this curtain here. And that's what we did. We got some good scares there as well. Then on into this hallway of skids that we were talking about just a little bit earlier. Again, this serves a functional purpose, but might as well make it part of the scare. So what we did in here was make it a sort of like walk-in closet. I had clothing all strung up on bars inside this hallway. So you had clothes all in your face as you walked through here, and you had to kind of push through all these clothes. I didn't get any really good pictures of that, but what was neat about these skids were covered in hardboard and painted and made to look like a closet, but there were some holes for an actor who had an air hose standing outside behind this black wall that we created at a right angle from the skids for stability, to keep the skids nice and steady. But their actor was actually able to hide here to do scares as people were walking through there with the air hose, and then also to get them on the exit as they're coming out, which I can talk about more in a bit. Then people would continue along through this hallway and into the garage portion, and typically people don't even know where they are, whether they're inside the garage, whether they're outside. But this is our drop panel hallway, and you've seen this in the video many times. In the previous year, I had a drop panel in a different place, so I tried to keep the guests guessing as to where it might be. But once they get inside the maze, they're so confused. I don't think most people would remember where the drop panel would be anyways. So that's our hallway where that happened. And then you would come through into this back room, which was, again, just part of the garage. And it was all blacked out. And this is where Burstook was. This was our blacklight room. And we had, 2 pillars here made out of wedding tulle, according to Tara, Scary Lady Video's tutorial on how to do that. And it was just more of an intimidation scare in there. Usually the girls hung out back there and came out from beside Burstook and made people feel very uncomfortable. Then they would continue through the next curtain down this kind of last hallway. And when they went down through there, that's where we had our multiple dummies and 1 real person scare. We had 2 static dummies, 1 Spirit Halloween prop, and 1 human being, all dressed the same. The spirit prop you couldn't see. It just looked like a person in black. But we just used this prop just for some movement, so people would think that that was perhaps the actor, or at least it would draw their eye. And then a real person would move and scare the bejesus out of people. And man, that worked. In case I haven't mentioned, any of these areas where you see gaps were covered in fabric, and no one could, it just seemed like another wall. So then as you proceeded out onto what we called the back porch here, and it was just kind of the space between the pallets, this black wall we made in our garage, and this was served as the exit, and we had a display here of props as just kind of the final exit point. And the reason we had that black wall there was not only to provide a structure and a right angle strength to those skids over there, but also to provide a barrier, a visual barrier from the street, so people couldn't see into the back of the haunt beyond this tent. The people in the lineup would be able to see right down the alley, or right down into the haunt if we hadn't have put that there. So that created one more turn for them, and as you know, with haunted house design, turns are a good thing. And the nice thing was, as people came out of the haunt here, we could get them with the scare actor here, and another one sort of on the alley between my house and the next house here. So we could have 2 actors scaring people as they ran out of the haunt, and that worked very well. So I hope that explains how we get a sort of a big maze into a 1-car garage. But if you have any questions, let me know. If you have limited space to work with, this might help, hopefully. Hope you're all doing well, and happy haunting.
Oh my God!